Hi, Floss Tube. This is Julie with Reflections Framing and Stitching. Today is Wednesday. It is the 6th, and it is Almighty Hair Day today. Yes, finally, I get to go and get my hair cut. I debated, should I keep my appointment, not keep my appointment? I'm keeping my appointment. Gonna wear a mask. She's gonna wear a mask. It's gonna be good, right? Okay, this is the chart of the day video number 25, I think, number 25. I hope everyone is well today, enjoying good weather. We had terrible wind yesterday. I got home and found my, what's the triangular shaped tall thing that vines crawl up? I don't know. It's not an arbor. I don't know. What you know what I'm talking about. I have honeysuckle and clematis that crawl up it every spring, and it's pretty loaded down right now with greenery and buds. In fact, the honeysuckle is I'd say it's a day or two away from blooming, and I found it laying flat on the ground, smashing all the other flowers around it. And then Dan came in this morning after having taken Remy out. Remy's a little quirky, and she won't go outside in the morning or at the very end of the day without Dan going actually with her. So he has to take her out every morning physically. He has to get dressed and take her out, or she won't go outside. So he came in after being outside and said that the wind had blown we have a gazebo that sits on the deck, one of those, netted fabric top type things that you can buy, that sits on the deck to keep bugs out, because I'm so allergic to bug bites anymore. Apparently it kind of blew the top off and tore some of the fabric and bent one of the rods. So this would be the third time that something like that has happened. The first time Dan left it up in the fall too long, and we got a heavy snow and it just collapsed the thing. That was the first year. I told him to get out there and get that taken down, and he did not listen to me. So the second year he replaced it, and the first day it was up. He put it up, and I said, we're supposed to get wind tonight. And he said, yeah. I said, well, is that tied down? Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Well, the wind came up, blew the whole damn thing off the deck and into the middle of the backyard and bent it all to crap. So that was the second one, which was last year. So we were 2 for 2. So this year he waited to put it up until we were pretty sure that heavy snows were not going to come. It was already tied down, but this time the wind got it. So he didn't know if he'd be able to fix it, or we'd have to be buying a new one. And I told him that this time we're going to buy one with the metal roof. It's going to be more expensive, but we're 3 for 3 now. If this continues, we could have bought the more expensive one at the beginning and saved ourselves some money at the rate we're going. So anyway, the wind was horrible. Did some damage around the house, so we're going to have to do some cleanup and stuff. Luckily, most of the trees in our yard are gone now. We only have the one, and I think it weathered the wind just fine. So I hope you all are having good weather. Today is kind of partly cloudy. I don't know if we're supposed to have any rain or not, but it's cool out there today. So that's your weather forecast for the day. Thank you, everyone, for answering my do you use needle minders question. I'm going to say probably about half and half. Some people use them on their fabric, some use them by their stitching chair. Some use them to hold their scissors, some use them to hold their pattern, some don't use them at all, some put their needle right in their fabric. So thank you for answering the question. And we will go right into the chart of today, which is a Patriotic Summer Series, Faith, Hope, Love from Twin Peak Primitives. I love the shape of this barn. And I like the old carriage. Got the flag on the fence, some sheepies. Gotta love a weeping willow tree. It's cute. It is not a large piece. Stitch count is 95 by 76. It calls for all DMC. Colors are kind of bright. So I've kind of done a hybrid mix. There's some places where I'd like to see an overdyed, like the barn itself, the carriage, this brown area down in here. The grass I'm going to leave alone. This roof here, I'd kind of like to see a little movement in there. Otherwise, this is a combination of colors. If it's been just one solid color, I probably would have changed it to an overdye, but it's kind of a combination, so it's fine. The only other thing, I toned down the red, and I'll show you the colors called for and then what I did. And I toned down the bright blue that's in here. Doesn't look very bright in my picture, but it was pretty bright in real life. And I prefer a darker blue, so blue's not my favorite color. I wear a lot of it, but I don't have any in my house, and what I do have is darker in tone, so I usually go that direction. The chart calls for Vintage Country Mocha in an 18 count Aida. I'm out, and it's back ordered, so I can't show you that. I do have the Vintage Country Mocha, just a little scrap of it in linen, and that would be fine. I have the floss kind of in two separate things. So this is the called for DMC that I'm keeping, and you can see that looks fine. And then this is the floss that I'm keeping. This is the floss that I've changed the colors to overdyes. So I'll go over those individually, but first I'm going to have to pause this. The mailman's about to come in. And I'm back. Okay, I was about to show you the changes that I made. So this DMC I've swapped for, and this is, I can't read it, 782. I changed to Autumn Spice just to give it a little bit of, this color is used down here in the bottom of the barn, as is this color, which it's 783, and I changed it to Weeks Dye Works Amber. It's in the bottom of the barn. Part of the rooftop was supposed to be 640, which I'm out of, so I can't show that to you, but it looks gray in the picture, so I just chose a gray I liked, which happens to be Blackboard from Weeks Dye Works. The barn, the outline of the barn is the 498, and they had the fill for the barn is 349, which is a very orangey red. I am going to use Louisiana hot sauce. It still keeps it in the same family, tones it down just a little bit, and adds some variegation, because I think that beautiful barn could use a little movement. The blue that I was talking to you about is 792, which is very bright. I just toned it down a little bit and went with Midnight. But you could use Weeks Dye Works Navy, you could use Wavy Navy from Classic Color Works. If you wanted to tone it down, you can just, I usually go by, okay, this is the color, and I try and find something that maybe has that same tone, like I did with the red. This is still an orangey red, it's just not as bright, and it has some darker going through it. So that's kind of my process when I'm looking at first I find a variegated that matches, and then if I want it toned down, then I'll go from there. Where was I? Oh, they call for 938 for that's for the carriage and the birds and the sheep faces. I just went with Blackbird from Classic Colorworks. So those are the changes that I would make if I were gonna stitch this up. So looks like a lot of floss there because I've got dupes on there, but it's not that bad. So color wise, as far as fabric goes, any neutral should work. There's a little bit of white, so just make sure it's dark enough for your white to show up. I have some 40 count tin rough, and the colors all look good on there. This kind of has a green color to it, but it also has an old look, which it's a farm, so I'd kind of like it to have an older look. This is their old base. It's not the Zweigart base. I would so much rather have the Zweigart base, but 40 count isn't bad. Love their colors. Weeks, I don't mean to bash Weeks all the time. I just don't like their base fabric. I love their colors. I don't like the base fabric that isn't Zweigart. It's too loosey-goosey. The holes are too big. I just don't care for it. But I don't mean to bash Weeks. I love Weeks. Don't get me wrong. Okay, Confederate gray could be fine too. Let me open this up a little more. So if you don't want, if you don't want a beige, Confederate gray would work. I thought even this is the straw gingham from Weeks. Even, it would make it larger, but I think the gingham would be cute for that also. And I have this very goldish colored wren. Wren's usually not quite that gold, but this particular batch is. But I think that would work fine. So there's several options for that. Kind of have in my head the idea of like a bowl of little farmy things. So the little barn would be cute. I'm working on the henpeck from Paulette Stewart, and I'm doing it over one on a 28 count. So I just, in my head, I kind of have this idea of a little bowl full of farm type chickens and barns and cows and pigs. There's one in that Celebration or Celebrate book from Teresa Kogut. There's a stack of farm animals that I thought would be cute to add to that. So anyway, that's the chart of the day, and I hope you enjoyed it. So today's question of the day, a lot of you mentioned scissors and that you use needle minders to hold your scissors, which made me think, well, okay, I collect scissors. I am a total and complete scissor whore. I love them. I want them all. pretty much I buy them all. So I love scissors. So A, two-pronged question here. Do you love scissors? Do you collect them like I do? And B, how do you store them? I have a plethora of what I call scissor frogs. They're, in case you're not familiar, they have the glass frogs from, in the past they were used for flowers. You'd put the flowers in the holes. But I use them to put the scissors in the holes. So, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. So you just plop the scissor right in here. This is a vintage, little vintage cup I picked up at probably the Brass Armadillo. Look at this. This so needs to be cut. Ugh. 6 o'clock can't come soon enough. So I have a nice collection of these. And then I have this one that Dan made these for retreat. This was a retreat project. Scissor collector. Some of you have seen it. This was our project in 2017. And so he made these boxes, and then you're meant to put your scissors all around them. So I have a bunch of those, and most of them are full. And then I have scissors in pretty much every project bag. Dan is a scissor thief. I have purchased scissors directly for him. He loses them and then he steals mine. So my question for you, again, do you collect the scissors? Do you just have one pair? And if you do collect them, how do you store your scissors? So that is the question for the day. I'm going to get to work. Yesterday was crazy busy. I have a stack of mail I haven't even opened, so I need to get to that. I got a new storage cart for orders because currently I've been taking the orders that come in and laying them out on the table. You know, as I gather things, I lay them on the table, and because, you know, some of them are waiting for something, and some of them I'm waiting for payment, some of them I'm waiting for an order of floss to come in to finish filling the order. So I kind of lay them out on the table. Well, that's fine as long as I'm completely closed down. But at some point, I am hopeful that the stitchers will be able to come back. And I needed a way to gather things and keep them in one place that's not the front counter. And I was talking to Adam about it, and he said, well, why don't you get one of those rolling carts with the little drawers? And I'm like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. So that's what I did. I got a 10-drawer. I think they use them for scrapbooking, or I think some of you might use it to keep your stitching stuff in. But I got one of those, and it arrived today. So I'm going to get that put together and start using that and make sure that it works the way I want it to work. I've got orders to fill. The place looks like a bomb has gone off, so I need to take care of that. And then it's off to Almighty Hair Day. So you all have a good day. I hope you get lots of stitching done. I hope the weather is beautiful where you're at, and you stay safe, be well, and take care till next time. Bye-bye. Or as Dan would say, bye.